So I was looking at my bank statement recently and I realized something. Everybody talks about how much money you save when you quit drinking and buying alcohol, but nobody seems to talk about the thousands of dollars that you spend and that you save when you're not buying other stuff. I realized that for many years I was buying things to fix how I felt. I was so messy inside and I was trying to buy things to make myself feel better. I would buy things on a whim, bring them home, and then feel guilty and ashamed that I bought the thing that I did, whether or not I needed it, whether it was something for my house, whether it was an expensive candle, whether it was, an outfit. And a lot of times I would end up taking that item back after thinking about it and feeling all the guilt that I did. I realized that for years I was buying things to fix how I felt, to fix the boredom, to fix the guilt. So today I want to share with you things that I stopped buying and found a simpler life. There was a period of time in my life that I struggled financially. I was really in a bad way. I was a single mom, and it was just my son and I. We had a shared custody arrangement with his dad, and it was a 50-50 custody, so I did not get any additional income. So I was working full time, raising my son, and had a rent or a mortgage at the time, and I would spend money on things that I really didn't need. I would put bills aside and not pay them to buy a certain item or to eat out several times a week. I was making some really poor financial decisions. And a lot of this was when I was in my active daily drinking days. And I was just, I was not motivated. I didn't care. I didn't care that I let a bill go. And got to a point where I got myself in a really bad situation. I was getting loans. I was just making some really bad decisions, and I had to file for bankruptcy. And I was so ashamed at that, but thought that that would get me back on track with my finances, and it didn't. I still struggled financially for a number of years and always was ashamed by that. I would buy the I deserve this treat, whether it be an expensive meal, which happened several times a week. I would eat out and buy meals for my son and I. We would eat out several times a week, which was so expensive. I would buy an item at a store that I didn't need for my house. It's just, at a home goods store or whatever. I would buy myself a piece of clothing just to try to make myself feel better, not knowing what I was doing at the time, but later realizing that it was for that dopamine hit. I would get that item home and then feel guilt and shame for buying it, and most of the time ended up taking it back to the store. So it was a cycle that I am ashamed of, but I look back on it now and just realize the reason that I was doing it. So now my reward is my peace. The reward is a simpler life. I don't need to buy that expensive meal or that expensive home item to feel better about myself. So the other thing would be the apology or the convenience purchase. I think I felt a lot of guilt and shame when my son was growing up as a single mom. I felt like I wasn't doing a good job. I wasn't good enough. And even though I tried to hide my drinking from him, and I did it when he was not around or when he was in bed, I still felt that guilt and shame around it. And I would buy him things, to make him love me, I guess, or to make myself feel better. And it's money I did not have. I would take him to the toy store and buy him things, just to make everything okay. Recently, before I sold my house and before I moved, I did a total clean out of my home, and there were toys that I had bought him. I had an attic full of toys, And I thought, my gosh, I just, there was a time that I spent so much money, ended up throwing a lot of that stuff away because I did donate a lot of the stuff too, but a lot of the stuff was not even usable. A lot of it was broken. And I thought, my gosh, at that time I spent so much money that I could have done better things with. But, you have to look back on it as a lesson, I guess. But it was just a time in my life that I was really making some poor decisions. I would buy takeout food for convenience because I had no energy to make a meal. And I did that several times a week. And looking back, I spent so much money on takeout meals. But now I have, now that I'm sober and not drinking on a daily basis, I have the energy to cook, even though I don't want to. It's a, it's a thing that you have to do. I am still tired, but not because I'm drinking on a daily basis. I work full time, but I know better now. I have the mental capacity to know that, yeah, eating out several times a week is not a good thing and it's expensive. So I go to the grocery store, I plan my meals, and I cook. But yeah, you just that's something that you learn to do. So the anti-aging purchases. I know when I was drinking, I did not look well. I did not feel well, and I would make purchases of skincare products that I thought would help and make me look better and make me look younger. But all that I needed was to stop drinking. Alcohol dehydrates your skin, it ages you, and all I needed was to quit drinking alcohol and drink a little water and buy some basic skincare products. And you just look so much better when you're not putting that poison in your body on a daily basis. So it turns out that a simple life is a cheaper life, and it's much more peaceful. So let me know in the comments what you have stopped purchasing, whether you're sober or whether you're older and wiser. I would love to hear about it. And I will see you next time.